Good morning, everybody. It's the pollinator, and it's the morning after Veterans Day in November. And I intentionally didn't make this video on Veterans Day because I'm still in a state of being I don't really know how to say this, but just, being a veteran at this time in history has left me with mixed feelings. While I feel very proud of my service to this country, I can't help but be kind of confused or in a strange place between my distant past and the present. And, oh, by the way, a friend of mine on Facebook wanted me to make this video. She said she was going through pollinator withdrawals. When am I going to make another video? And until I do, she's going to watch reruns, which cracked me up. It's like, what the fuck, reruns? Not sure what that means, except she's going to watch old videos again, I guess. At any rate, and I have so many balls up in the air right now that it's very difficult for me to focus, which you need to kind of do with making videos on YouTube or live feeds on Facebook. So I thought about it, and I thought, when I first started making videos, I was still relatively low-key in most of my earlier videos. And sometime in 2016, I started getting fired up about a whole lot of things. And it's not that I was being a different person in the earlier parts of my transition. I just hadn't experienced any adversity in my transition up to that point, except for being misgendered. So, everything was awesome, everything was wonderful, everything was, I was having an amazing time emotionally. And you know what? At the same time that all that was happening, I wasn't. Let me explain why. This transition is going to be about I guess you could call the difficult aspects of transitioning, and instead of the, I almost want to say, hippie type of everything's wonderful, like I was loaded or I was high or something, during that period of time. And to a certain degree I was. I do not drink alcohol, and I don't do drugs. I don't smoke weed. I don't do any of that. I've got 34 plus years of sobriety and clean time. So yeah, when I feel high and I get high, I'm literally high on life. I'm high on my own spirit, my own personality, and things of that nature. I try not to have external things influence my attitude and my moods and all of that stuff as much as just who I'm being in the world affects how I'm coming across and how I'm feeling and how I'm moving through this transition. So let me I had to actually make notes because it's much easier to talk about things when they're great, and I don't want to be a downer for people. So I don't like to talk about all of the things that are going on in my head that aren't so great. because there's just enough negativity in the world to last everybody 10 lifetimes. So who really wants to talk about that shit? I talk about it here and there because some of my videos are very emotional. Could be downright angry at times. And so there's a lot of things spread throughout the history of me making videos on YouTube where I'm speaking. So I'm gonna put them all in one video. So I may end up repeating some things that I've said before, but you know, oh well, you're gonna hear it again. So even in the earlier parts of my transition, I was in a relationship, but for the last 2 years, I felt very alone in that relationship, and I transitioned alone. I was getting no transitional type support from my ex-fiance, and that was tough. It was tough to be so centered while wanting things to be different in that relationship and not being supported through my transition. So I got very involved, very active on Facebook. I belonged to a ton of groups. I was just very, very active in those groups, including running a group that I created as an offshoot to another group that I was well, I was running that group. I didn't create it, but I was running it. So, you know, all of those things were like a distraction for some of the tougher things that I was going through. And I, you know, went to local groups in the area, transgender support groups. And so all of that kept me centered, even though I felt very lonely, and wanted a partner to go through this transition with me that was going to be, that was down for what I was going through, that I could talk with about these things, and that took interest in my transition. You know, as it was, I'm the only one that was interested in what was going on. So, you know, that's one thing. And then sometime last year also, I moved from everything being about my transition to everything being about being a black man. It is a very, very different experience to live most of your life socialized as a female, and then make this transition to where you are perceived in the world and, you know, everywhere as being not everywhere, sorry, I said that, where you are perceived as being a black man. I am a black man, but not in every circle do people consider us black men. As evidenced by a lot of social media sites that I got onto, where they were mostly heterosexual, cisgender black people who had big issues with anything LGBT. So, you know, it's very hard to live like that. It was one of the reasons why I fought who I am, is because people were used to, they didn't all accept, but they were used to lesbians, gays, and bisexuals. What they were not used to at all, and fighting tooth and nail, were transgender, the T in LGBT. And I didn't want to step into that world. I fought it. I did not want to go there at all. because I saw how the world was hating on transgender people. And I was there when they were hating on LGB back in the 70s. Didn't want to go through that again, but I ended up doing it anyway. If you can see, my eyes are extremely red because I still have an infection in them. So I'm getting that handled the end of the month. But so being a black man right now is interesting, and it's difficult because I don't have a lot of. I do have role models, but I don't have a lot of friends that are close by that that are like-minded in the radical black way that I am. I am pro-black, and I don't run across a whole lot of brothers who are in the transgender world. They're more focused on their transition than they are being woke. And I don't care how you think being woke is, whether it's Black Lives Matter movement or whether it's consciousness that that being black is about in the United States. At all across the board, people are not awake to the experience of being black in the United States, let alone the world. They're not awake. And so you've got a whole lot of transgender people running around, black ones who are not, they're not particularly aware and awake about that. They're awake about their transition, and that's what they're talking about. And I'm not, my own transition isn't new and exciting anymore. But what is being a black transgender man. All three of those things I'm awake about. And so I kind of pulled away from the black transgender community into one where I'm trying to create a movement that is combining all of them, all, cisgender, transgender, whatever, black, whatever, because we're being rejected by the cisgender, religious, heterosexual, black community. And we're being rejected by the white transgender community. So we're caught in this very strange, I'm caught in this very strange place where I'm trying to find like-minded individuals and a sense of belonging in the community, where black, for me, is primary, not being transgender. But it all still fits in. It's all still part of one's life experience. So I'm not ignoring anything. It just doesn't hold as much of a priority as it did. So another difficult thing about my transition is the ignorance in the LGBTQIA and all the rest of them acronyms. The ignorance about them and the T, transgender part. We're part of that acronym. Whether we really wanted to be or not, we're part of them. And I'm just absolutely amazed at how clueless they are about the transgender experience. Given the fact that most of us came from the LGBTQIA world. Most of us came from that world. And when we crossed over into being transgender, all of a sudden, who are you in this community? They have no idea who we are, why we are the way that we are, that we're not all gay. We span the entire spectrum of sexualities, from heterosexual to bisexual to gay to asexual to, I mean, we span the spectrum, but there's still people inside of the LGBTQ who think we're gay. And because they're clueless, they're ignorant, they have not researched us. I have run across many people who I am the first transgender person that they know, that they've ever heard of, or when I met them, they didn't know very many, and so they don't understand us either. So you got the religious, heterosexual, cisgender community not understanding us. Then you've got the LGBTQ community not understanding us. Then you've got all of those with the preface of black on it that don't understand us. And I'm going to say understand instead of hate and all of the things that encompass misunderstanding. Some just misunderstand. Some are ignorant. Some hate us. Some think we're mentally ill. Some think, so that word understanding encompasses all of the experiences that one has, that I have as a transgender person and a transgender black man. And I'm going to say that I also belong to a lot of black groups on Google, on Facebook, on YouTube. And, sometimes I end up leaving those groups because they're extremely conservative, especially this American version of Hotep. And I'm going to say American version because I went out and researched what Hotep means. And the way that black people, black Hoteps, are interpreting that meaning of that word is completely not the meaning of that word. They do not, the ancient meaning of the word, they did not have problems with LGBTQIA. They didn't have a problem with us. But these American blacks, Hotep blacks, like, I ain't gonna mention his name, the Breakfast Club guy, and people like him, the Muslims, headed by, Minister Farrakhan, and just, there's, I can name off a lot of black people who really, really, really have a problem with LGBTQIA+. So much so that they're alienating us, and we're not being protected the way that the BLM and other organizations, NAACP, you name them, organizations all over the country are, if you're black LGBTQIA+, they don't got your back as a whole. I'm not saying there aren't individuals within those organizations that are accepting. I'm saying there's more of them who are not. And the ones who are not got the biggest mouths and the most followers and the most people believing everything that comes out their mouth about us. So we, as a result, we're on the defense, and we're being alienated, because if we do come out in those organizations as who we are, boom, a whole bunch of doors are going to shut, or a whole bunch of doors won't open. So I see a lot of us as being incognito and in the closet, moving around these black organizations, including me. They don't know unless I tell them. And when I do, hush, hush, comes over every single one of them that I tell that I am transgender black man. All of a sudden, I ain't part of the club, but I am. I experience black. I don't have the experience of being transgender out in the world unless I tell people that I am. But what they see first, I'm black. That's what they see first. That's what society sees first. That's what the world sees first. Regardless of gender or sexuality, that's what they see. And that's what I experience first. So, that's been a tough one for me to swallow. I do see change coming, especially because of the elections. But, just not enough for my taste is it. Are we accepted as part of the struggle when we are struggling more than any of them? More. So what else can I say about the tough parts about being a black transgender male? The surgeries. The healthcare industry is a business. But for transgender individuals, these surgeons all around the nation, are using us as cash cows. They're making these surgeries so freaking expensive and exclusive to people with insurance. So it's the working class people. I am retired and I am a veteran. So I don't have a civilian insurance. And these surgeries are so expensive that they put them out of reach for people like me. I am trying to find a way to get them done. And, I don't want to hear you. If you're not transgender and you have issue with me being transgender, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if you start talking about people mutilating their bodies as a justification for your hatred for us. That is not what we're doing. These surgeries are very, very complex. It's not a mutilation of anything. It's called gender confirmation surgery, GCS. I know they still call it SRS in the majority part of the medical industry, but that's being changed internally within the transgender community because sex reassignment, just the word reassignment doesn't make sense when it comes to being transgender. We are confirming what many of us knew ourselves to be at a very, very, very young age. We're not reassigning. We are assigning the gender that we, in our minds, in our brains, that we are. But let me give you some examples of these surgeries. Top surgery in the United States, and I can't even talk about people going out of the country to get them because that's almost as expensive as getting it done here. When you add travel, staying up in hotels, motels, and food, and everything combined, these days you're not saving much by going out of the country to get these surgeries done. So in the United States, without insurance, and without any kind of payment plan, they don't even allow that for us. This is why I'm saying, these guys are, these surgeons and the companies that they work for are out for the money. They're not doing this, and even if they're very, very good at doing these surgeries, they're not doing it because they think we need it. Because if we need it, they'd also make a way for everybody to get it. Starting at $7,000 going up for top surgery, how reasonable is that if you don't have insurance? And I think it costs that whether you have insurance or not. But if you don't, you got to come up with that cash out of pocket. And there is no payment plan for any of these hundreds of surgeons that there are in the United States. Because again, it's not about you. It's about their business. It's about that business. The surgeons aren't even responsible for the collections of the money. They've got a whole nother department within their hospital or clinic or wherever they work that handles the financial part of it. And those guys could give a shit that you need GCS. They only care, okay, we got the surgeons that can do it, give us the money up front. That's top surgery. Bottom surgery for female to males. I'm not speaking for male to females, because I do not know how much this stuff costs for them, except that it's less. Bottom surgery, depending on the type of surgery, and there's only two. The one that's less pervasive, it starts at $15,000. And I know of a man who had phalloplasty, which is the more complicated bottom surgery for female and males, to get himself right. And this includes vaginectomy, hysterectomies, testicles, and a penis. He ended up spending like $100,000. How attainable is that? If you're black and you don't have a $100,000 a year job, you're older, you're retired like me, how attainable is that? So you got to be a rich white guy, or have a rich white wife or partner or something. You got to have a lot of money to be able to afford bottom surgery, which I have a feeling that's why most guys don't elect for that surgery, especially phallo. Menioplasty is a lot less expensive, but the results are, I'll let you research it if you care to. You don't end up with anything, you don't end up with something that is biologically correct to me. Yeah, you can pee with it. You might even, a lot of them say that you can have sex with the results of menioplasty. But, you know, it comes out very small. And you almost have to have a custom-made packer in order to even look like you have a penis in your pants. But anyway, I don't want to get all into the dynamics of the specifics of that. But just know that, you know, if the nation was, if we had rights and the nation understood our need for these surgeries, they would make it affordable, like housing. So again, I'm crossing over and over, from transgender to black, transgender to black. Everybody knows if you're a black person, you're on the same economic equality level with white people. So, people talking a lot about gentrification, and that switches over into housing. So you switch back over, and now we're talking about surgeries. Who only prominent people who are making a decent amount of money and have insurance at a job can afford. So that's it about surgeries. Another thing that occurred to me being born in the wrong body is that I never had a desire for children, not to have them. And when I was younger, it did not occur to me to have my eggs frozen. That is what my body naturally produced before I went through menopause. Um, and still, I still have ovaries and the whole shebang inside. So, but the fact that I can never have children has bothered me a little bit because, cisgender males can have children, give a woman a child the rest of their life if they want to, unless there's something wrong with the sperm produced in by their testicles. But if we didn't have our eggs frozen and we're older, meaning went through menopause, game over. I can never have children. So that kind of is hard for me to swallow at times. I have come to peace with it, but it's still nagging in the back of my head because my mother's bloodline stops with me. My sister was unable to have children, physically unable. So it all stopped with me. And before she passed away, when I was 35 years old, I asked her if she was upset with me that I never gave her grandchildren. And she kind of looked at me. She wasn't very coherent at the time, but she kind of looked at me and she said, "No, baby." But a part of me knew that she did. She wasn't pissed at me, but I'm sure she wanted to be a grandmother, and I'm sure she wanted her bloodline to go on. And at this point in my life, I cannot make it happen anymore. So I guess if I had one regret, it would be that I didn't realize when I was before menopause how important that it would be at a later time for me to think about this and think, oh man, I wish I had done that. I wish I had them frozen. I don't wish I ever had a child. I don't physically never wanted to go through that experience. And I sat in on a live childbirth. I almost fainted 3 times during that birth. I was like, oh my God. The whole thing was a nightmare to me. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe women go through this. Women want to go through this. And I never wanted to. And that was the only childbirth I ever saw and the last. Because I didn't want to see that again. If I was... I think like a man because I am a man. Men don't have any understanding of that, nor do they want that, and neither did I. Even though I had the means to at one point in my life for a long time, and I still didn't want to go through it, so I didn't. What else can I say about being this transition? It's interesting being in a class that, because I am much older, most of the people I'm dealing with on social media, I'd say and I don't know this to be a fact, but the medium age around the internet is in their 30s. So a lot of these people are still finding themselves. And it can be difficult to interact with people who are still don't even know who they are completely. And this doesn't even matter if they're transgender or not. As you mature, as you go through more experiences in your life, as you learn more things. And that is if you even bother to. I mean, there's people my age that are ignorant as hell. So it's no guarantee that just because you're older, you're going to be wiser. Or just because you're older, you're going to learn some of the secrets in the kingdom to heaven while you're on earth. Your age does not dictate that. I've known some very young people who were like, oh my God, they are so wise and old souls, that they know things that a lot of people their age do not. And a lot of people my age don't know what they know. So in my transition, I'm bumping up against a lot of lack of maturity in people. And so much so that if I tangle with them, first thing they want to say is that I'm immature. I'm being immature when they're being that way. And part of being young is, what they teach you in school? You know what life teaches you when you're young? How to do this. As you get older, as you mature, I'm not going to say get older, as you mature, it's almost like that finger pointing thing becomes dead ass boring and frustrating and a waste of time. Because for me, time is very important at my age. I don't have a lot of time left. I don't have a lot of time to play games. I don't have a lot of time to spend doing things that aren't helping me reach goals. That's what I'm focused on. And I can rest when I die. But until then, I'm on a mission. I'm on several missions. I've got several goals that are sitting in front of me. But this thing about being immature and not being able to have conversations, healthy conversations with people, that's a tough one for me because I'm a communicator. And I learned, I did some things when I was younger that ensured I knew how to communicate. And guess what social media is doing to people around the world? It's the opposite of teaching you how to communicate in a healthy manner. Social media is dumbing people down. They can text, but they can't talk. They can say things on the internet that they would not say face to face with you. I'm almost glad I wasn't raised with social media or the internet, because I had to learn how to interact with people on a very, very deep level. I had to learn. I didn't have to, but I learned how to interact because of programs like Alcoholics Anonymous, Landmark Education Corporation, where I was certified as a public speaker. All of the I was a self-help junkie. I went from an addict, an alcoholic, to self-help junkie. I mean, I put as much energy towards growing up as I put towards chasing down things that got me high, that took me out of reality and away from reality. I put as much effort into learning how to cope and how to deal with things and how to talk to people and how to be in a crowd and I learned all of that stuff because the internet wasn't around. With the internet being around, people are hiding from the responsibility and accountability of learning how to be healthy people, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, Did I say mentally? Yeah, I did. But physically, everybody's, can talk about that until the cows come home. How to eat right and all this stuff that it's. I don't know. I'm 60 years old. I'm healthy. My immune system is strong. I don't eat well, and I have better things to talk about than what I'm eating. I'm doing a lot of things that are bettering myself and making a difference in the world is more important to me than whether I eat a carrot. Oh, I was in a Google Plus group where I'm mixing it up with this lady because, I don't like vegetables. And yeah, vegetables are good for you and blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, well, I haven't been into that since I was a child, and I'm still healthy. Relatively speaking, I'm very healthy for my age. And I'm more, I'd rather eat bad and know how to interact with people on a physical level, face to face, over the phone, on the internet. I'm the same way whether I'm on social media or not. I am the same way. I'd put stock in that before I put stock in how well I'm eating. That's a physical thing. Not mental, not emotional. Those same people that eat right, some of them are fucked up. So what is that doing for them, really? Let's see. Politics. We all know how the country feels about us when it comes to politics. They don't want us to have rights. And they're going to try to undo everything Obama did. Asshat, orange face, it's his mission to try to undo everything Obama did for the LGBTQIA. We weren't, transgender wasn't really part of all of that at the time. We were fighting for the rights of LGBTQ. And so, politics right now is a nightmare. Being a veteran and watching them go after active duty transgenders in the military is maddening. And then at the same time, I'm at this crossroad where, because racism is so strong in the transgender community, and I'm finding that out, I'm surprised how strong that is, how prevalent racism is in the transgender community. And because of that, I'm looking at both. I'm experiencing both, being transgender and being black. And more than anything, you know what hurts me more than anything in the world? Is having transgender people hate me for being black, or have a problem with that, or being fragile, or being all the things that white people are. And I was having a conversation with somebody about that, and about the fact that, politics and the government are treating them like black people, and they are pissed off that they have lost some of their privilege because they're transgender. And so who are they taking it out on? POC, transgender people who open their mouth around them. All of a sudden, here they come, boom, like heterosexual cisgender white people. They are trying to spit on us like the other side is. So it's just maddening. It's just absolutely absurd that in 2017, people are about as ignorant as they was in the 1940s about being black and about being transgender. So I'm like, everybody get a clue. We've got to stop all of this. This division that's going on, division inside a division, inside a division, inside a division, is being carried out by every important special interest group in America. So there's fighting going on inside of the group. And then we're trying to fight the establishment, which, a lot of people don't like that word, but I don't care. The people who are in power in this country are white. So all black people matter. All transgender people matter. So the division that's going on in the trans community is the same division going on in the black community. And to divide us is to conquer us and to defeat us. But they're not white people are not the only ones that are causing that division. The religion that our slave ancestors had to cling to survive is the very religion that we're being bashed over the head with by black people as LGBTQIA+. It just, it's like, that's why I'm not religious, because all that stuff is so corrupt, so ass backwards, so much bullshit going on. And I don't care what religion you are in this nation. Anyway, I could say more about that because I also got into a conversation with some people about, well, my religion doesn't discriminate, or my religion isn't part of the division going on in the United States. And I said, oh, yes, it is. Anyway, I think they were pagan. I think that's what they were. But I said, according to who are you saying this? Yes, you are. Go ahead to your pagan groups and announce that you're transgender and tell me what happens. Or announce that you're lesbian, bisexual, or gay. Tell me what happens. Then tell me that this doesn't exist in your community, in your religion. Sorry, there isn't a religion in the United States that is not practicing division and phobia. There just isn't. So I'm going to close this out because I've talked a long time. I hope I satisfied the ladies. What'd she say? What did I say in the beginning? She was getting having pollinator withdrawal. Okay, I hope this satisfies some of your withdrawal. It gets you back in the getting addicted to watching me talk. That's funny. Anyway, I just wanted to say, you know what, I'm on a mission, and I'll say more about that when I have a clearer picture of how I'm going to implement the majority of that mission, but outside of finishing my book up. So I hope everybody has a blessed Sunday. It is Sunday now, and pollinator out.